It is Ringside Report MMA first show of 2023. Tonight on the show, Jake Paul signs with the PFL to fight MMA. Dana White and his wife have an altercation in Mexico, and we got predictions for the new year. Freddie and AJ are here. Let's do it.
Let's go!
They are here. I promise they're here. Where are they? There they are. There they are. Freddie, AJ, Happy New Year, dudes.
Happy New Year, man. Where the hell is my pen? Man.
AJ's in shambles already. We're off to a good start. Freddie, you doing well?
I'm great.
There he is. Big Freddie Garcia in the house.
Big Freddie!
We got a lot to talk about here, guys. Yeah, it's been crazy.
You know what, I'm upset that we didn't get together for, like, the holidays, man.
Yeah.
Like, what happened, man? We were supposed to get together.
We haven't hung out, all three of us, in a while. We should do something.
Yeah, we got to do something now. Like this, like in the next couple of weeks, we got to do our 2023 bash. Where did he? Right. We said we were going to go somewhere.
Let's bash at the beach, baby.
Yeah, man, that'd be nice.
Let's do it.
UFC, man. Let's get some money this way.
Well, there's no fights to bet on this weekend, unfortunately. We can't bet on anything.
Man, it's been a rough ride lately.
Next weekend, we're going to have some UFC fights. Next weekend, the UFC is back. We'll have Imavov against Gastelum.
Yeah,
Imavov.
Exciting.
That's exciting?
No, it should be okay. Who else is on the card? There's that Ige. It's not like a great start to the year for the UFC, man. Like, they should have put out something like, wow, right off the bat. Like, you know, you go all, like, hands down, man. Like, you know, like Dana White was doing, like, on all the feeds, man. He's slapping his lady out. I mean.
What? The feeds?
You got to be. Yeah, like the feeds, man.
You're bringing in a lot of things. You're just throwing. You're like a tornado. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I'm trying to say is that the UFC, if you're gonna start the year, do it in like grand scale.
You're like
man.
the tease.
Grand scale.
You're the tease for the start of the show.
Yeah.
Just bring up everything.
Well, man, Dana White brought up a lot of things too this week, and that's what I'm trying to say is that he took away from the UFC start, man. It's all about Dana this week. You know, slap fighting and
Jake
Dana.
Paul.
Dana. And Jake Paul.
And Jake Paul.
And Jake Paul.
And Phil Baroni.
Let's talk about Dana first, though. So, Dana White, there's a video that comes out of Dana White and his wife getting into a fight New Year's Eve at a club in Mexico where they're vacationing. His wife, who I've never seen his wife. I didn't know his wife's name. Nothing. I knew he was married. I knew he had some kids. I wasn't sure how many. I now know he has 3. I think all boys. And he has a wife. And they were there in the club. She smacks him. And then he smacks her back. And looks to go for another one. But people kind of get in between. And then the video ends, and this video came out on TMZ a couple days ago. And then there's an interview with Dana White where he's saying, you know, we've been together a long time, there was alcohol.
30 years.
But he's also saying, you know, he's embarrassed by this horrible incident and that he's good now with his wife. But definitely, I mean, he seemed... Like, you know, he said people are going to say things, and they're right to say things, and I've done some bad things. This is bad that I did. But, you know, he's apologized. But, I don't know. It's hard. His wife also issued a statement to TMZ saying that Dana and I have been married for almost 30 years. To say this is out of character for him is an understatement. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Unfortunately, we were both drinking too much on New Year's Eve, and things got out of control on both sides. We've talked this through as a family and apologized to each other.
Listen, man, Dave, it's very simple. When you're a Dana White, you're a Dana White. You've got, like, you're always under the microscope. You know, it's like Connor, man. When Connor does some shit, he's all over the news. You know, John Jones does something, he's all over the news. But Dana White is the first one to come out and like start, chastising them, like, these guys are wrong and whatever. You don't hit a woman, this and that, blah blah blah. He's out there blasting, and here he is on TMZ, man. And when I saw that video, I was like, I thought it was a joke. I thought at first it's like, it's got to be a plant that looks like Dana White, because Dana wouldn't be that stupid to do what he did. The problem is that when you put like booze, New Year's, and Mexico together, it could be a recipe for disaster. But the problem is this.
No.
Listen, it could be. It could be.
No.
It could be, man.
No.
Cocaine is, like, I'm sure was involved.
Stop.
We're not saying that. But
Stop
I'm just
putting
saying, that's
excuses
speculation.
out there for this behavior, man.
No, the behavior is wrong on Dana's part because he's the first one that comes out. Listen, at first I thought maybe he was trying to hype up his slap fighting. Actually, that went down the tubes this week, well, in the last couple of days.
I mean,
all to say is this.
How?
I thought it was a joke.
How do you continue to promote something called the Slap Fighting League?
It's pretty bad.
That's Dana White slap fighting that's supposed to start next week on TBS after AEW Dynamite. That's now been taken off the schedule for the next 2 weeks at the very least, if not canceled altogether. How do you promote something called Dana White Slap Fighting League a few days after this video comes out of Dana White slapping his wife with an open hand smack to the face?
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah. No, this is bad publicity, Fred. If it gets your show canceled, it's bad publicity.
But hold on a second.
You can't excuse this. This is madness. I can't believe that he's going to get away with this, too. He's going to get away with it. He's going to remain president of the UFC. He's not going to be fired by the UFC. And it is shocking. Most people in this position who would be caught on video hitting their wife
pretty bad, dude.
Definitely be in some kind of trouble, would usually lose their high-profile job. But because of the nature of the beast of the UFC and of the cult of Dana White and of the culture of the UFC, he's going to get away with this, and he'll be all right. I don't think Dana White's going to lose his job as president of the UFC. You think he will?
No, I don't think he will, but I'm going to blame more the relationship between ESPN and the UFC, because when it comes to sports, ESPN is the big guy. ESPN is the big media outlet out there, and they got some financial relationship with the UFC, and a lot of people have already called them out on not really, pushing this story, like letting this story die away. There's even been stories that supposedly a memo went out to employees to not be overcritical of Dana White and things like that. So I don't know, man. I'm going to put a lot of the blame on ESPN for that. And yeah, man, look, there's double standards in life. What Dana did is awful. Should he lose his job? I don't know, man. I'm not the guy that's going to make that decision. But I'm going to call out the double standard of ESPN. If it was a fighter, they'd be all over him. If it was an NFL player, an NBA player, they'd be all over. If it was Roger Goodell or Gary Bettman, they'd be all over him. But they got a financial relationship with the UFC, and that's dangerous.
Yep. You're 100% right about that. They are covering this thing with just kid gloves. I saw Stephen A. Smith talking about this. Dana White is my friend, and people make mistakes. And he's a good guy and all that. I was like, whoa. What are we talking about here? When a woman hits you, okay, first of all, guys, let me tell you something that's just, I think we all know. If your wife hits you, you've already fucked up. You said or did some shit that made her smack you in the face. You don't hit her back. If your wife has come to the point of smacking you, you have done some shit. You fucked up already. You're wrong. You don't get to hit her back. She hits you. She's correct. A woman is not going to hit you unless she has reason to hit you, in my experience. You know what I mean?
Listen,
I think for the most part, there are abusive women out there for sure, and maybe Dana White's wife is an abusive woman. Maybe Dana White is an abused man, but it doesn't appear that way because he went right after her with no hesitation in a room full of people. In a room full of people, he is hitting her, and he is going again. He hit her, and he's like, more. He went for more, and people had to stop Dana White.
Oh,
That's
he
crazy
wasn't wearing.
behavior, man.
Yeah,
You can't be doing
I
that. You
know.
can't be the
No,
boss
man.
of the UFC holding fighters accountable for their behavior if you are on TMZ doing that.
But
If
does he
that is
hold
what is
fighters
going on,
accountable?
I don't know. I don't know how
You're
Dana
right.
White recovers from this. This is bad.
I don't know, man. Look, all he's missing is his wife beater T-shirt because you're right. He went with one slap and then he went over again like, hey, dude, take it easy. But what I want to know is what pissed her off so much because she gave him a good slap. And it's kind of I can
What did
see
he
from
do?
Dana's point, it's
I can
kind of
speculate.
embarrassing when you're Dana White,
Yeah.
but he must have fucked up. But listen, they've been together for 30 years, 3 kids. I'm sure a lot of shit has happened. I mean, Dana had some problems in Brazil. We won't get into it. But you know what? The wife had to endure a lot. But I can tell you this. Her name is Anna. Chances are she's Italian. I'm going to tell this guy,
Her
Dana.
name's Ann.
Ann or Anna?
Ann.
I think she's
Ann.
an Anna. I'm going to
No.
tell you. If she's an Anna,
It's
he
not.
better sleep with one eye open. If
Okay.
she's Italian, he
That's
better
good.
sleep with one eye open.
That's
That's all I'm going to
nice.
say. The slap is going to be the easy part. But wait, hold on a second, Dave. All kidding aside, you're absolutely right. He must have said something that was so crazy for her to slap him. You know what I mean? I want to find out what the hell he said. But
I just
you know
don't
what?
understand how you remain in a position of power if you're Dana White
But-
going forward when this is public. How do you
But you
reprimand? How do you reprimand your fighters? How do you hold these guys accountable? How do
that's the
you
thing.
put down discipline as the boss of the UFC
You're acting
when
as
your
if
behavior is
Dana
out there
is-
like this?
You're acting as if Dana's fair usually on that. What happened to John Jones? What happened to Conor McGregor? What happened to if you're
Exactly.
a jabroni, yeah,
Good point.
he'll lay the hammer on you. But it's not the same rules for everybody. And Dana White's part of the guys that don't have the same
He's
rules.
up
That's
there.
just the reality.
He's right. It's like
That's
telling
correct.
Tony Soprano that you can't do.
The UFC, the Conor has had his issues. John Jones has had issues in that type of department with his wife, and of
Yeah, but
course,
he's
Greg
consistent.
Hardy was welcomed with open arms into the UFC with limited fighting experience. The guy had like 1 or 2 fights, and because he was a famous ex-NFL football player who left the league in shame because he beat up some woman, like the UFC was like, oh, come on a main card. You're a big star. Everybody knows your name. You're Greg Hardy. I was like, why are we welcoming this piece of shit to the UFC? Well, I think we know now. Because, this is the type of behavior that is allowed if you were a UFC fighter. There were times when fighters got suspended for this stuff. Do you remember Travis Brown? His wife accused him of beating her up and all that stuff. The UFC suspended Travis Brown for a time, right? But Travis Brown wasn't a champion. He was in the main event of the UFC pay-per-views, right?
Yeah, he was
They
just
suspended
average.
him for a time, but really, what does that even mean? What does that mean if you're a UFC fighter that just fought and probably isn't going to fight for another 6 to 8 months, and they suspend you for 3 months? What does that mean? Can you go to the gym? Yeah. Can you fight
Sure.
in the UFC? No, but you probably weren't going to anyways.
Yeah, you're not going to probably have a fight in a year anyways. You're right, Dave. I mean, I totally
And
agree
with
with
Dana,
you. I just
like,
think,
I don't know what you do with Dana at this point. Your sister is
do anything.
watching on Facebook. Thank you, Tanya D'Alessio. She says, I
What'd
agree
she
with
say?
Dave. As usual, he is a wife beater and should be put in the ring with UFC's top females fighters. That'd be fun.
yeah, that'd be good.
I mean,
man.
I
Put
don't
him in
think
with
that that's a
Cyborg.
way to solve
Oh, you could.
this
It's a
issue.
good way.
But come on, man, you can't hit a woman. Like, I think that's just basic. We all know that. That's and if you do that, well, you should be reprimanded in some kind of way. And it seems like there's going to be no consequences for Dana White.
Yeah, you're right, Dave. Unless he was abused, we don't know about that. Maybe he's like,
I don't think he's a beaten man. I mean, it's possible.
never
She
know.
also
It's
should not be
possible.
hitting him. I mean, that's also a point. I was kind of kidding around, but I assume Dana did something for her to hit him. You know what I mean? Just because of Dana and his personality. But she also probably shouldn't be hitting him. But you don't hit her
We need a-
back.
you
That's
know-
worse.
No,
The
man.
woman hitting him, bad. But hitting her back, far worse.
Listen, man, what we need is a lip reader to find out exactly what was said. We need to find a lip reader. My sister knows a lot of people. Maybe she could do it. To find out what the hell he said. But that's the problem again.
I'm going to speculate.
Booze,
So
man.
Dana,
Booze in Mexico.
this is the show where I'll speculate.
Uh-oh.
So Dana, he's all over the world all year long. Like Dave said, we've never seen this Ann White before,
Yeah.
like, so we don't know. So she's not there usually. So for once, Dana's spending time with her, and I don't know, man. Maybe he did something he shouldn't have done, man. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that was her week, man. Dana, 1 week out of the year, man. Come on.
He blew it.
I mean, Dana was in some sort of
Maybe he
legal
blew it
thing
all right.
with a stripper that
The one
her
in Brazil?
boyfriend was trying to extort Dana, and Dana had to go to court, right? Wasn't there something?
Yeah,
some
yeah,
stories
that
there?
happened in
Mexico?
Brazil.
Huh?
Are there strippers in Mexico?
I would assume so.
I would
Probably.
imagine,
But we
man, you know?
we have heard of and assume more. Dana White having some extracurricular activities outside of his marriage, right? And who knows what his wife is aware of, tolerant of, or not. We don't know. We don't know the inner workings of their relationship. And, some people, especially Fred, you're talking about Dana White, who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. People like that sometimes have understandings. They come to arrangements. They don't live in the same state. They don't live in the same house, and they can afford to do so, and they live separate lives because they have kids together and stuff like that. So who knows what's really going on in their relationship or what. What we do know is that Dana White is on video hitting a woman. That is his wife that is the mother of his kids, which also,
Or maybe
sucks.
Dana didn't
Sucks
learn
for the
from
kids.
John Jones. Maybe he did the same thing John Jones did. He went back to get some money to go to the strippers, and
Yeah.
that didn't work for John Jones, man. Dana,
Maybe that's
man,
just
why would
common.
it work for you?
And
Maybe
lots
John
of blow,
Jones
man.
learned the
You're
trick
absolutely
from
right.
Dana White.
Listen, John Jones never got reprimanded that much when you think about it, with all the shenanigans he's done outside
He
of
was
the
arrested.
octagon. So he got out.
Dana
He shot at a
wasn't
homeless guy.
arrested.
Nothing happened to him. Well, Dana wasn't arrested because obviously he could have got arrested if he was somewhere in the States and the White filed charges. But the thing is, right here, I mean, he fucked up. I'm sure there's going to be some intervention with Dr. Phil. There's going to be a Dr. Phil's special episode with Dana White
I don't
and the
think
wife,
so.
and they're going to come out and he'll be like, you know what, man?
No.
I did a lot of
Next
stuff.
press
Maybe I did
conference,
some blow.
man, there's maximum 3 minutes on this subject. Dana brushes
think
it
so?
off, and
Yeah.
nobody pushes it because
Nobody's
they're
gonna
all
push it.
pussies.
Nobody's
Listen.
going to push it because if you push it, you'll never get to ask Dana another question again. That's just how
No,
it
but
works.
think about it too. I'm sure he doesn't want to talk about it like at all. The wife neither. I mean, like they have 3 kids. I think they want to just like resolve it in whatever way, shape or form. It's unfortunate that the situation happened.
It's
But
terrible.
what sucks more is it just goes to show you how many people are videotaping you. I mean, he should have known that. There's always paparazzi all over the place. And a guy like Dana White in Mexico, man, look at the camera. The camera is like from the opposite side of the bar filming him. I mean, they were probably filming him all night, and they caught like the gold. When they sold this video to TMZ, they made good money. But what I'm saying is Dana White fucked up. When there's alcohol involved, God knows what else was involved. I'm telling you, ski hills were involved for sure. But Dana White fucked up.
It's
Dave.
Mexico,
Let's be honest.
man. There's no
Yeah,
snow in
but
Mexico.
the point
What are you
is,
talking about?
Not at all.
most people that are on video doing that would get some sort of trouble upon them. They would have repercussions. And it
Absolutely,
seems like
absolutely.
Dana White will probably get away with this. The story will blow over because of his media partners over at ESPN, because Dana White is the president of the UFC. He's not a fighter in the UFC. He's not a player in a league. He is the top guy in the UFC. He's negotiating with the bosses at ESPN. And when your bosses are friends with the president of the UFC, you don't want to upset your bosses and push the story that your boss's friend hits his wife. So ESPN, because of their association, because of money, because of all that, they're not going to push the story. People in MMA are going to continue to push this story. This is something that we, as observers of mixed martial arts and the UFC, will never forget. This was a moment in time for Dana White that he will never live down. This is something that you will always, always remember, and it's really sad that Dana is going to be allowed to continue running the UFC after this. I don't think that he
Listen, Dave,
should.
Vince
I really
McMahon
I
did the
think
same,
that if the
not the
Fertitas
same,
were
but he's
still in
done
charge,
worse.
if the Fertitas were still in charge, they'd remove him.
Most probably.
Not sure.
I agree with that, but probably not right away. You got to find out what the story was. I mean, I was looking
What
at some
the
of the
story
comments.
was,
You
see,
do not touch
this is
a
the
woman. I
problem,
agree with
AJ.
that.
No, there is no what the story was.
No, but to fire
There's
someone
no
at that
story
level,
that
they're
defends
gonna,
that kind of action. You see what I'm saying?
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. But the thing is, man, when you look at guys like Vince McMahon that was accused of like all kinds of crazy shit, look at him. He continued for years, man. You're talking shit from 1986 with Vince McMahon all the way to like before he sort of stepped down. I mean, a lot of these guys
There's
got
no video
with
of
a lot
him
of
hitting
shit.
his wife.
But
that's right.
That's the thing. You're right, and that's the thing. There's a video of Dana, and it's gonna creep up. I hate for the kids to see that kind of shit, because if that was my dad hitting my mom, I'd fucking give him a bat over the head. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
If there is video of Vince hitting his wife, it was scripted and on like Raw or something, right?
You think so?
It's possible. I mean,
maybe.
I remember when Linda was in like a neck brace and a wheelchair, and she was like in some sort of comatose state, and Vince was making out with Trish Stratus in front of her. It was a wild scene. It was a wild scene.
Only
Vince has done some wild stuff on TV, you know? So it's all entertainment, pal.
Hey,
and he's trying to get back
to Linda,
in the WWE,
and she took it, and she didn't slap him. I'm just saying, props to Linda.
Well, Linda and Vince live in a different state, and, you know, they have an arrangement. They're married still, but Vince has a girlfriend, and I assume Linda has somebody else.
Boyfriend.
Yeah, or
the pool guy.
Who knows?
The pool guy usually. Listen, I was just looking at. Listen, just to answer DJ, I saw something come in. That video went so viral, it was ridiculous. Because when I went on like Twitter, the first thing I saw trending was Dana White. I'm like, oh shit, Dana White's dead. You know, everybody's dying. You know, but the thing is that, like, I swear to God, that's the first thing I thought. I said, Dana's gone. But the thing, as soon as I clicked on it, it's like,
who else died?
I saw Dana. Well, there was a lot of like, unfortunately, like, you know, a lot of celebrities and athletes and whatnot. We won't get into it. We were talking like conspiracy stuff before the show started. But anyways, but hey, listen, man, just to say, man, let's hope like the football player, everything comes out on you know, for
what
him.
The hell are you
but going
about?
back, listen, going back to Dana. I hope, man, he comes out and actually makes a public statement and
he did.
apologizes. Well, not really. Like, I mean, a formal one, man. Super formal at a UFC at a conference. He has to do it. No, man, you got to do it like.
I'll give him that. At least he
But
owned
no,
up.
what I was
He
trying to
didn't
get.
try to.
No, man. He
what's he
needs
gonna
to
do?
do it. He needs to do it, man.
I mean-
a formal man, like, you know, like a whole thing. But what I was going to get at is the trending thing. When I saw Dana White trending at the highest level, I'm like, what the hell did he do? And as soon as I saw that video, I'm like, at first, I was so sure, like I said, I thought it was a plant. I thought it was fake. I was like, oh, they're just trying to get Dana White, you know, Ariel Helwani and them, like, you know, this whole thing that was going on back and forth before the holidays. It was insane. But then when it turned out to be Dana, I'm like, how can you be that stupid, dude?
It's
you know,
crazy.
a guy with that position and power and you know, responsibilities and you know, you come out all the time, he fucked up, you know, but what he did was absolutely wrong. I'm saying that if Dana White wasn't Dana White and he was in any other organization, he would be fired. He would be fired. He'd be let go, and that's the end of him. Sayonara.
Yeah.
But you know,
so how the hell
thing
is this? How is he getting away with this?
He's Dana White, dude, and he's running one of the biggest organizations in the world. Where, like, unfortunately, in the world of sports that we talk about, there's a lot of like. It's combat, dude. There's a lot of like weird shit. We're looking at Phil Baroni, like, you know, what he's going through right now. Again, in Mexico, I mean, there's a lot of crazy shit involved in the world of combat sports.
We're talking about, so sure, Phil Baroni is being accused right now of beating his girlfriend to death.
That's unbelievable.
Also in Mexico.
Don't go to Mexico, dude. Just don't.
Don't go to Mexico. Yeah, it's a Mexico problem. So Phil Baroni, former UFC fighter, is now sitting in a Mexican jail facing charges of beating a woman to death. I mean,
I wouldn't want to be in a Mexican jail.
No.
No
Even if
way,
I'm a
man.
fighter.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere near Phil Baroni. It's really very sad story. Horrific. And then, the president of the UFC, it's just, come on, man.
It's not giving the sport like a good
The
name.
sport
in a
looks
sense.
like shit right now.
It does. You're
What
absolutely
happened to the days when mixed martial arts was trying to be better? What happened to the days of George St. Pierre and Lyoto Machida and honor and respect and trying to not be skinhead, wife-beating, racist assholes? Remember when everybody was like, "Oh, cage fighting, it's kind of for the idiots," and and MMA and everybody in MMA was trying to uplift the sport, uplift the image of the sport. People were wearing suits. They were gentlemen. They were well-spoken. Trash talk was at a minimum. And you wanted to be looked at as a man of honor and respect, as a martial artist of respect. All that shit has gone out the window and has become the freak show that the UFC is right now in 2023. And it starts at the top with Dana White.
And we're only 5 days in, man. God knows what's going to happen by the end of the year.
Like, I remember the days when we were trying to be like, hey, guys, it's not so crazy and violent and, it's a lot of these guys are respectable and gentlemen and stuff like that. What happened to that? You remember that? What the fuck?
Well, the thing with Phil Baroni, like we were talking earlier, I mean, it's a little bit different. I mean, but we've seen it quite a bit. We've seen guys in the UFC do crazy shit that sometimes makes you question, the nature of the sport. I mean, Phil Baroni, the only thing I could say is that it's like 20 years later. He had a lot of head trauma, and a lot of people are coming out saying, like, he had CTE problems and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of trauma on him.
There's also some bad people in MMA, man. Like, you're talking about the good part and all that, but there's been the bad apples also in MMA and in every sport, man. Unfortunately, some people are just bad people. And look, if Phil Baroni did what he's accused of, man, that makes him a bad person. I'm not gonna excuse that with CTE or anything else. And I don't know, man. I don't have much more to say on Phil Baroni
Fred.
other than that's a bad thing he did.
He's
And
gonna have a rough life, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like CTE doesn't excuse what Chris Benoit did, and CTE doesn't excuse what Phil Baroni is being accused right now. So no, I'm sorry. It's awful.
Look, listen.
And
I was
alcohol
gonna say,
doesn't
Freddie,
excuse hitting your wife.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. You're absolutely right. But I was gonna get to like guys like Tony Ferguson. I mean, remember like a little while back, even Tony Ferguson like went out of control and had like
but that was more of a.
But still, you know what I'm saying? There's
something else. He's diagnosed with something. I'm not sure exactly what, but it's a medical condition.
But that's what I'm getting at. Like some
I
of
don't
these
think
guys,
that's
and I agree with Freddie. There are bad.
Maybe aggravated by it. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, but you know what? Like, who knows, man?
Nobody really knows. A lot of this stuff is still kind of being
but
discovered, right? A lot of this CTE and brain stuff. We don't know all the mysteries of the brain. We're still trying to figure it out. We're still trying to figure AJ's out. That's for sure. I don't know.
Doesn't help, man. 20 years from now, you'll let me know. But all to say is this: Freddie's got a point. There are bad dudes in any sport. In MMA, we've seen some pretty bad dudes.
Yeah, but what happened to the gentlemen? Where are the gentlemen in MMA?
There's a lot of them, man. When you look at
are there?
There's still a lot.
The guys
There's
that
more
don't
of
talk
them
trash. The guys that show up looking sharp and fresh and just
there is,
the gentleman.
Man. You look at Usman. Look at Usman when he comes in. He looks like he looks like $1 million. He has the nicest suits. He looks great. He'll be back champion again. But I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah, but he's hanging around with that Ali Abdelaziz, and he's getting paid by the Chechen dictator to get money and hang out with him. You know what I mean? Like every guy, you're like, oh, this guy. You're like, man.
Dave. You really want to go and check everybody's friends from the old days?
Yeah, it's impossible, dude.
No.
Look, man. It's not like the Fertitta brothers. That, like,
I know what you're talking about. We're not going to go. Yeah, I mean, not every gentleman is necessarily a gentleman through and through, but.
No, but overall, most guys in the UFC, even though they trash talk, it's all part of the game. Just like in wrestling, it's part of developing a storyline and making it exciting enough for people wanting to come and watch. So in reality, Conor McGregor is probably not the Conor McGregor that we see in the UFC. In real life, I've heard that he's completely the opposite. Likes to sit around in his slippers, likes to chill. And I know a lot of fighters that, and I'm telling you, Freddie, he smokes weed, he'll drink his freaking proper 12 and whatever. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of fighters that look like killers, and I know them for a fact. And they like to be like home with their kids, read books. It's a storyline. But you know, it has changed. The game has changed. It went from like the George St. Pierre coming in with his kimono, giving that whole like Karate Kid like, you know, perspective to where we need now. People need excitement. They like to see a Conor. They like to see, you know, like even a Paddy Pimblett. I think Paddy Pimblett is great for the sport because he's got the Conor edge, but he's so respectful and he does so many good things that you want to like him and you want to see him go forward. I hope he goes forward and he wins. But what I'm trying to say,
I mean, Paddy Pimblett in his last fight lost a lot. He lost a lot. Look, Paddy Pimblett in his last fight barely won a decision. I don't think he actually won, A, okay? And B, then he gets interviewed by Joe Rogan afterwards, and he says some stuff about Ariel Helwani. You know, he's like, oh, paying for the interview. And it's like, man, why are you feuding with Ariel Helwani, man? Who cares? Like, talk about fighters. I don't understand why he's all, like, obsessed with this guy now, and it's all like a whole deal. I don't know. Paddy Pimblett, like, he's cool and all.
He gets himself in a lot of trouble, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he does. No, for sure. It's like, all right, take it easy, guy. But Pimblett, I don't know. He couldn't beat Jared Gordon. And even if he could, like, even if you think Paddy won that fight, he barely beat Jared Gordon.
Dave.
How good is Paddy Pimblett going to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not Conor. By this stage in the UFC game, Conor was just smashing people, focused. You know, when Paddy Pimblett is talking about Ariel Helwani all the time, Conor McGregor was focused on Jose Aldo. Conor McGregor's first fight in the UFC, he was like, Jose Aldo, I'm coming for you. You know, like, he was a madman going after Jose Aldo, who wasn't like an easy fight back then. Conor was like incensed, crazy, going after the scariest, toughest man, and everybody's like, man, is this McGregor guy serious? Like, do you remember when Conor first came in? You're like, man, he's calling out Jose Aldo. Is he losing it? You know? And then fucking smashes Aldo. And then, you know, went on to whatever. But
it's a different time, man.
It's totally different.
But he's very early in the game to have that much recognition. He's not even fighting the top 15 guys yet,
yeah, but
which he's going to do at this point.
Yeah, but how's he going to do that? How's that going to work?
Look, this is what's going to happen with Paddy. I think Paddy's going to have a really, really interesting and great career. He might have a loss in this year. It'll happen, just like we've seen with a lot of fighters. We saw that with Conor. We saw that with George. You know, you want to talk about bad losses. I always talk about George and Matt Serra. That was horrible. Everybody has a shitty fight. Look, Paddy got the win on that, but it wasn't as shitty as some of those other fights, like George when he lost to Matt Serra or Conor when he lost to Diaz. The thing is this.
Different story.
Paddy Pimblett, it's a different story, but Paddy's not even on the top 15
No disrespect to Jared Gordon, but Jared Gordon's not Matt Serra and he's not Nate Diaz.
He's not. You're right. But what I'm trying to say is that Paddy Pimblett is still making his way into this game, and he's going to get shaped and seasoned, and he's going to get a lot better. Because if you look at his fighting abilities as an overall fighter, the guy has it all, and he has the marketing edge that is going to carry him through. I just hope that he's able to smash some big names in the top 10, top 15, and then his name is going to rise. For sure he's going to lose at some point. I could see that happening. But
he did lose his last fight. And you're talking about smashing people. How are you going to smash people if you could barely squeak by the top 20? You got to be knocking out the top 20 with ease.
Yeah, but sometimes you just have a bad fight. It wasn't his greatest fight. But all the rest of his fights...
I say Jake Paul beats him.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I don't think so.
And I think Paddy Pimblett, he's a year or two away from fighting Jake Paul. That's where he's at. he's
you're right.
more
You're right.
famous than he is good. You know what I'm saying? Some fighters get to that point where they get more famous than they are good at fighting. You ever Meatball Molly? Everybody's real excited about Meatball Molly. You see her last fight? She got obliterated.
Meatball.
You know what I'm saying? It's like people sometimes, like, the fame kind of overdoes the fighting ability, and then, you know, you got to stop fighting because you wind up fighting other famous fighters who tend to be very good at fighting because they got famous from being really good at fighting. You know what I'm saying? So then you get in trouble. Paige Van Zandt found that out, right? Too bad Patty Pimblett can't show his ass on Instagram or whatever to make money.
Well, he can show his feet. Apparently, there's like a huge foot fetish, money-making possibility on that. But anyways, all to say is...
How much are you paying?
Tell me I can get rich by showing my feet?
Wow.
Man,
I'll do it.
I'll just set up a page, man. Just jiu-jitsu feed, man. We'll share the money. We'll go like 3 ways. That's it, man.
I don't want to talk about going 3 ways and feet websites with you. I don't know what the hell we're talking about. I'm not doing it. Jake Paul signed with the PFL. He's going to fight MMA in 2023. He wants to do boxing and MMA, but he's going to do it with the PFL. And he's offered a 2-fight deal to Nate Diaz where he would fight Nate Diaz first in boxing, then 6 months later in MMA. Jake Paul also announcing that he's going to be some sort of fighter relations guy, which means he's going to be posting PFL stuff on social media and promoting PFL. And he's also announced a new pay-per-view super fight league where the fighters in that league would get 50% of the revenue. So PFL gets 50%, and then the other 50% of the revenue for the pay-per-view would go to the fighters.
That's good, man.
I guess Jake Paul is going to be on the first event for this PFL Super Fight League, whatever that is. Nate Diaz is a free agent. There's been a lot of talk. I mean, if the money's right, this seems like the move to make. You could get Jake Paul in a boxing match and do all right, and then you get him in an MMA fight and you see what's up. You know, it's an interesting proposition.
He has the wrestling background. There's no problem with Jake wrestling. And we can see that Jake can box, and he's only getting better. We don't even know who he's training with on the MMA side. You know that he is. He's prepared. He's going into the PFL to win. And this guy is going to make noise. Again, I said it way back. He was going to change the face of the game, and he is. Both in boxing, and he'll do it in MMA. And he's getting a lot of support. I was looking at some of the kudos. You got Anthony Pettis, man, telling him that he's doing good. You got Jeremy Stevens, man. You've got Derek Brunson. You got Big John McCarthy himself saying, you know what, Jake Paul is doing a great move. So he's getting a lot of support, and he's getting a lot of respect. Because if he gets into MMA and he actually does well, man, this kid, you're absolutely right. This kid could be not too far away from reaching out to fight a guy like a Patty Pimblett or even a Conor McGregor. But when you're starting to put in a revenue share of 50% on a pay-per-view, you know he's going to get the views on that pay-per-view. It's Jake Paul. We've seen those numbers before, and it's only going to be greater if he gets a big name. If he gets Diaz to fight in his first MMA fight, holy shit, who's not going to want to watch that? You know that we're doing a live coverage on that. I think Jake Paul, man, he's going to be the surprise of 2023. He was the surprise of the earlier years for boxing, and I think this guy's going to come out in MMA and surprise a lot of people. I'm telling you, this guy has the money to get the best of the best, and that's what he's done in boxing. And look who he's beat. You can't deny it. Jake Paul, man. Team Jake.
I think Nate will tap him. If they fight MMA, Nate will tap him, I think, in the first or second round.
Listen, we expect that to happen, Dave. We expect that to happen.
Yeah.
But he has to get him to the ground. So he's going up against a wrestler who has that background, man. And he's training with, like I said, the best of the best. We just don't know who it is in MMA.
He is bigger than Nate.
He is bigger. And let me tell you, he hits harder than Nate. And that's the problem. If Nate doesn't, and listen, Nate likes to stand.
He did drop
take the
Anderson
punches.
Silva, right? I mean,
Listen, but it's Anderson Silva when, not Anderson Silva prime. Let's be honest.
you think
The thing
Anderson
is
Silva
that
could beat Jake Paul in an MMA fight today?
I'm sorry.
Can Anderson Silva beat Jake Paul in an MMA fight?
We don't know. I don't want. I think Anderson Silva should beat Jake Paul if we talk about it now. But I got to see Jake Paul's first MMA fight to get a better idea on what this guy's capabilities are. Because what people don't realize, it's a mix of martial arts. No, but because I'm going to tell you this, Freddie, because it's a mix of martial arts. You're not boxing, and you're not wrestling, and you're not doing jiu-jitsu. You're doing everything that has to be hybrid for MMA, and that's the difference. The angles are different, everything's different, the perspective is different, the conditioning's different. Like, your everything becomes a different game when it's MMA, and that's where I got to see Jake Paul. I have to see his first fight. I believe that he's going to get trained with the best of the best to be able to handle a lot of these guys. But look, if you're saying Anderson Silva, dude, it's a different story. Anderson Silva in boxing, I gave it to Jake Paul. Anderson Silva in MMA against Jake Paul, listen, it's Anderson Silva. Let's not disrespect the guy. You know what I mean?
I just want to recap this discussion, man. So basically, AJ was singing the praise of Jake Paul, and he was doing it in a way that he wanted us to believe him. And Dave said, yeah, he did knock down Anderson Silva, to which AJ right away changed his stance and went, oh, yeah, but that was the old that wasn't the good Anderson Silva. Like, Dave was agreeing with you, man, and you just had to be a contrarian and change that.
Listen,
but that wasn't the good Anderson Silva.
And now he's trying to tell me that Anderson Silva would beat Jake Paul in an MMA fight.
I
don't know what he's thinking.
Listen, man, because it's the experience and it's a different game, man. It's a different game.
But didn't you say that Jake Paul would beat Nate Diaz in an MMA fight? So you think that Jake Paul could beat Nate Diaz, but not Anderson Silva?
Listen, I'm saying that he could beat Nate Diaz standing up. I don't know what's going to happen when it gets to the ground. I expect Diaz to submit him if it gets to the ground. But again, like I said, Nate Diaz is not going to go through a training camp like Jake Paul is. Jake Paul has the money to get the best of the best of the best, and he's proven that over and over again. He has the means. Like, as we're talking right now, this guy, if he's saying that he's going into the PFL, while we were celebrating, he's been training. He's been training MMA. He's training with the best. I just want to find out who he's training with. That's my thing. I just don't know who it is. I just want to find out who it is. He's confident enough to go into the PFL. There's a reason for that. And look, we might be surprised. I just got to see how he fights in MMA. Boxing, I know. He's going to probably beat most of the guys.
Will he beat Diaz? What are the options for Jake Paul?
MMA?
Nate Diaz is the one that makes the most sense, man. Nate Diaz is a lot of money, and if they could do a back-to-back fight, man, they would make both a lot of money. And also, like, I would think the UFC probably have a matching right on Nate Diaz contract, because usually they do on a lot of guys. But if Nate Diaz signs a contract where he's allowed to box, the UFC will probably not be matching that. So that could make sense, man. Nate Diaz, Jake Paul, make a lot of money.
How about this?
I'm down for it.
How about this? Ooh. George St. Pierre.
In boxing?
Come on, man.
Boxing and then MMA. Do the two-fight thing with Jake Paul.
Dude, listen. Man, George right now, his trading, I mean, if you ever see his trading regimen now, it's ridiculous.
He's a free agent. You know he's looking for something. You know he's looking for something.
I saw George driving by a couple of weeks ago, okay? And look, he's in top shape, okay? There's no doubt about George. George right now could do, like, somersaults, feet up, no problem. The guy's in top shape. The only thing is that he's still training. You see some of his videos. He's at TriStar training like a beast. If it's not jiu-jitsu, wrestling, he's boxing. The guy is doing it all. He's training like as if he could go fight like tonight. I don't think it's a smart move for Jake Paul to go up against George St. Pierre at this point. But it would be something to see, and it would bring in pay-per-view dollars like you've never seen before. Everybody would want to see that.
I mean, Nate just fought in the UFC and won. George hasn't fought for years, I don't know.
George hasn't fought for years, but think about it. If George comes out and says, "Oh, you know what? I'll fucking do it. Let's do a MMA
that
first.
We
do
sick.
Boxing after." It would be sick, dude. everybody would want to watch that. But
I would love
man,
that. My God.
listen, I don't think it's a great first MMA fight to have.
Do it at the Bell Center, Jake Paul, you coward.
He could.
Come
That
to
would fill
Montreal,
out, man.
Jake Paul. Come to
That would fill out
Montreal in
in a
the
second.
summertime and fight George St. Pierre. See what happens. That'd be sick.
I don't know, dude. I don't know, man. That's crazy.
Olivier.
I'd love to see it. Yeah, you could fight Olivier. He's a PFL champion. Why not, man?
Yeah.
I mean,
Jake
he's a
Paul
bit smaller.
versus Olivier
like,
Aubin. That would be sick.
that would be sick, man. That would be sick.
Olivier can
But-
keep stacking that million, more millions by fighting Jake Paul. It'd be
if you
so
get
rich.
50%, listen, you get 50% of like that pay-per-view share, man. Olivier, man, is going to be like le roi de Québec.
Let's see
I mean,
Olivier
the
cash
money is there.
in. Quebec is back, tabarnak, in a big way. My God. That's a catchphrase now, eh? Olivier started a catchphrase with that. Quebec is back, tabarnak. I see that everywhere. Olivier's a
And listen,
superstar.
man, listen, you got Olivier fighting Jake Paul. You'll have Georgia in the corner. You'll have everybody else there as well. You even might see Rory McDonald like supporting him in the corner. That's the thing. You get a guy like Olivier, it could be interesting. Mind you, he has that name in the PFL. A lot of people in the UFC still remember Olivier Aubin-Mercier. But,
I bet you Olivier would
the-
take the fight. He would take the fight. He'd
Olivier,
be down for
he
that.
wouldn't hesitate. He'd take it right away,
No.
man. That guy will fight anybody, man.
Yeah.
He'll fight Georgia if he had to. Like, let's be honest. He won't say no. There's
don't
no
know.
doubt about it.
I don't know why that would happen, but
Why not, man?
Yeah.
It could happen. Anything is
I doubt
possible
it
in this
would.
world as long as money is there. Listen, we saw that with Mayweather and we saw that with Conor. No one thought that would be possible. No one thought that would actually capitalize, and it did. As long as there's money involved,
he
anything
loves
could
bringing
happen.
that up, eh, Fred? He loves it.
Hey, dude, man, don't shoot me,
And
man.
I mean, it's not even like a good argument. Everybody wanted
It
to see
is.
Mayweather versus McGregor.
Conor?
Everybody
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
willing
man.
to pay for that.
Yeah, and they did.
Nobody wanted
They
to
did.
see that. That's why it sold 4 million pay-per-views.
Dude, it's still one of the top pay-per-view sellers of all time. Let's be honest. And you know what?
Because
And
everybody
regardless,
wanted to see it.
listen, it's a pay-per-view, man. 4 million. Who wouldn't want that? Not
Cool,
even
man,
Tyson could have
AJ.
pulled out those numbers. Let's be honest. Look,
Be honest.
Conor sells. Conor sells no matter where he goes. And you know what? Jake Paul fights Conor McGregor, the numbers would be through the roof. The numbers would
Man.
be through the roof.
I'll tell you, if I am the top prospect in the Power Slap League right now, I am thoroughly pissed. You know what I mean? If I'm the king power slapper in the world and I'm getting ready to go on TBS, I'm going to go pro. This is the biggest shot of my life. You know what I'm saying? You're the king of power slap. You're about to be a superstar on TV.
I'll tell you what,
and then
man.
Dana White slaps his wife
Fucks
at
it
a
up.
club, and your power slap superstardom is over. No
I'm not
power
a big
slap.
fan of the Power Slap League
No.
because
It's weird,
from
man.
what I've
Stupid.
read, man, there's a lot of CTE in there also, man.
No
These guys
shit.
are getting knocked.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
So I'm
You're
not
getting-
a big
you're
fan
getting
of
a
the Power
slap.
Slap League. Like
It's two
I'm
people-
not even sure why they're doing that.
Two
You know
people
how many
standing
years-
at a table, slapping each other, taking turns slapping each other as hard as they can in the face until I think somebody falls down. There may be like judging or something. I don't know.
Forrest,
Listen, I want to know how
Forrest,
many eardrums are like
what's his name there?
blown in
Forrest
that.
Griffin. He's a professional catcher. Like he catches the guys falling, getting knocked
What?
out. He's behind.
You're kidding me.
was a professional catcher. Now that Dana White Power Slap League is probably canceled.
done.
He's
You'll
not
be a
doing that
professional
anymore.
dog catcher now. Listen, it's just like, look, some people are into that. I'm not into it. Like,
I think it's bad.
I've seen it. I'm like, oh man, it's just okay, whatever. I mean, if this is stuff that you see with a lot of alcohol
Yeah.
involved and like stupidity.
could
But like I
pass.
said, some of the slaps that I saw, I'm wondering like if they could show a stat of how many people have like blown their eardrums, because some of those slaps are like right
Yeah.
towards like jaw ear level. And let me tell you, man, you could blow out a eardrum with any of those slaps
I know.
like that. I mean, it's
Saw it
more dangerous than
recently.
boxing.
Kevin
At least in
Owens on
boxing, you
Roman
can
Reigns.
block.
Wha-pam!
And what happened?
Kevin Owens blew out Roman Reigns' eardrum with a slap.
Was it?
Yeah.
See, I'm not joking. I didn't even know about that.
Roman
And there
was
you go.
pissed. And I think he gave him
Oh,
a
I would be
receipt
too.
last week on, was it Raw or SmackDown. Kevin's eye was all busted up. Roman hit him hard.
Jesus.
Revenge.
Really, eh?
It's called a receipt.
Wow,
when
man.
somebody hits you hard and you just hit him back.
Yeah,
How you
but still,
settle it.
fucking blown eardrum.
Yeah, well, he busted
Not
Kevin's
easy,
eye
man.
pretty good. You should have seen Kevin's eye.
Did he? Oh
Yeah.
man, I'd like to see that. Oh, it's getting exciting then.
Things
WWE.
happen. It's all
You know.
professional. It's like you got me, I get you back. You know the receipt's coming. You just deal with it. You know,
Yeah, that's a heavy receipt
you're
to
not
take,
trying
man.
to hurt somebody. You know, so when you hurt somebody, sometimes they hurt you back. You know.
Well, in
Not
power slap, your
injured,
objective is to hurt the guy. That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
It's really to hurt the person. And I seen like some girls going at it as well, and I'm like, holy shit, it's ridiculous. Anyways, maybe it's a good thing that it's
Okay.
not going to be aired.
I think it is good. I really didn't think that this was really going to happen. I thought this was crazy from the beginning, and I think it's all going to work out. I wonder if Dana White staged this
He got
because he
slapped
realized that the Power Slap League was a terrible idea. So he's like, here's an idea. I'm going to
never
slap my
know, man.
wife. And then TBS will definitely pull the contract because you can't have the Power Slap League by the Power Slap on his wife, man.
He's
on
the
TV.
poster boy for that.
So he's like,
Yeah, he
I
could be
wanted
the
to pull out.
logo.
Like maybe he sabotaged himself
It's a possibility, dude.
to get rid of Power Slap because he didn't really want to do it. He realized, man, I was way too high on whatever, mushrooms, and thought Power Slap was a
That's
good
a
idea.
possibility,
Now I
dude.
realize I'm dumb. You
You
know?
might have a point there, Dave. You might have a point.
Maybe
It's a
this was
possibility.
all publicity to self-sabotage Power Slap. It's ingenious. Amazing.
Sense.
What a move. What a move from Dana. Okay, predictions. First of all, fight of the year for 2022. Do you guys have any other fight than Yuri and Glover? Because I think that was probably the best one that I saw.
Yeah.
Chandler
I
and
agree.
Poirier was good, I guess. Or Gaethje. Was that Gaethje? No.
Well,
Gaethje was last year.
Edwards like a kick to the head of Usman. Like I think that was
Yeah.
like the one
Knockout of
that
the year.
stands out the most. Yeah, that stands out like for me the most out of all.
Shocking.
You know, and the most disappointing as well.
I wasn't disappointed.
I was.
I mean, it happens. It's fighting. But I thought Yuri Glover had fight of the year. Fighter of the year, I'd probably go with Alex Pereira. He had 3 wins. Bruno Silva, Sean Strickland, and then, of course, Israel Adesanya. He beat Israel Adesanya. He finished him, too. So, I'd go with Pereira. Volkanovski had a good year. But I'm going to go with Pereira for Fighter of the Year. I think he had the best year of anybody in the UFC.
Yeah,
Islam
I agree
Makhachev
with
had a
you
good
on
year, too. But Pereira fought 3 times. The other guys I'm talking about fought twice, so.
that.
All
No,
right.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
All right. So how about predictions? Forget looking back. Doesn't matter. Predictions for 2023. I want to know.
It's gonna be tough. I mean, look,
John
Freddie,
Jones,
wanna go?
heavyweight champion.
Possibility.
John Jones, heavyweight champion of the world. Okay. I could see that. AJ, who do you think is going to be heavyweight champion at the end of 2023? Fred says John Jones will be the heavyweight champion of the UFC by the end of 2023. What do you think?
Man, look.
I mean,
we
that
haven't
means
seen John-
Ngannou is what? Has lost to
gone.
John Jones or has just not signed a contract with the UFC?
It could be.
I
It could be a
think he's gonna
possibility.
sign. I think they're gonna fight in March. I've read rumors.
That would be
Man,
sick.
it's. Look, I think I still have a lot of like, you know what I'm gonna say, Dave. I have a lot of hope and expectations, and I thought he beat him because if he would have won that 5th round, I still think Cyril Gane has a possibility to be the champion. If John Jones does not come into heavyweight and we just see John Jones slide and we don't see him in 2023, I'm going to be like, I think John Jones is pretty much retired from the sport. If I don't see John Jones fighting in 2023, you know, it's done. But I got to see him fighting in 2023 as a heavyweight. We haven't seen that yet. I would love to see John Jones as a champion in the heavyweight division because that's like the mecca of combat sports. You're a champion in heavyweight, everybody remembers you for life. And John Jones kind of deserves that. But the thing is, he's
Can you
got
give
to
me a
beat
prediction?
Ngannou. He's got to meet Cyril Gane, and I still think that Cyril Gane will be the champion at the end of 2023. I think he'll beat Ngannou in the next rematch. And I don't think Jones has doesn't have enough tools to beat Cyril Gane.
I think Ngannou is going to find his way to being the heavyweight champion by the end of the year still. I think Ngannou will remain champion. I think he may beat John Jones. I think they will fight, and Cyril and Francis may beat him. So I'm going to go with Francis. I like that we have 3 different heavyweight champions by the end of the year. We were all picking Cyril Gane last year, and we were all wrong because, of course, he's not the heavyweight champion.
We came close, Dave, by 1 round. Let's not forget that. It wasn't a fight. It was 1 round.
How about 205? How about 205? Who is the light heavyweight champion at the end of 2023? I guess it all depends on if Yuri Prohaska comes back, or Magomed and all that stuff, or Jan Blachowicz, but Glover Teixeira is going to be fighting Jamal Hill coming up at the next UFC pay-per-view on the 21st of January here in Brazil. Glover and Hill. I think Glover Teixeira is going to win that fight. And I could see him remaining light heavyweight champion till the end of the year because, who's he going to fight? Unless he fights Yuri again. But Yuri seems like he's going to be gone until 2024. So I'm going to go with Glover Teixeira.
Ankalaev's probably getting another title shot before the end of the year, and he's been very good, so I expect him.
Why would Ankalaev get the shot over Jan Blachowicz, though, at this point?
Because he won that fight on most people's eyes, I think.
Yeah. But
and it wasn't
technically
as bad
it was
as
a draw.
And
Dana, don't forget, Dana was so mad at that fight that he's like, these guys don't even get to fight for the belt anymore. And Ankalaev was talking about not fighting in the UFC after that
2 weeks. Glover's fighting in like 2 weeks, so he's going to fight again in 2023. And I expect, like, who should get the title fight? Like you said, Yuri, injury. I don't think he's fighting in 2023, so he's not going to get the second title shot. And Ankalaev, to me, is the logical choice to get the, like, it's him or Blachowicz, but I prefer Ankalaev.
I do too, but I think they're going to give it to Blachowicz, and I think Glover's going to beat him. So who's your prediction? Ankalaev as champion at the end of the year in 205?
Yeah, I agree with Freddie on that.
Yeah? Yep. I'm going with Glover Teixeira.
Pereira
if it isn't for a short term, yeah.
You don't think Adesanya wins it back from him, Fred?
Nah, Pereira figures it out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going with Alex Pereira, too. AJ, who do you think is the UFC middleweight champion at the end of the year?
Exactly. Just who you said. I mean,
wow.
He's just one scary dude that I didn't think he would go to that level of fighting. And
he was losing the fight, though, up until that point.
But he was able to take a beating. And the thing is that he was able to come back and deliver one. And that's what's scary about this guy. He is just he's just a machine. So it's very hard to see who can beat him at this point.
Wow. So we're all...
Even at his weakest, he still wins.
Sticking with Alex Pereira to remain UFC middleweight champion. I don't think anybody beats him. And I think he probably beats Adesanya again. I think he finds a way to beat him. How about at 170? A similar fight, a similar rematch that we're expecting here in 2023. Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards, where Usman was...
the rematch.
He was winning that fight, right, up until that kick. Fred's going with Kamaru Usman winning the rematch. AJ, you think Usman wins the rematch too?
100%. I said that from the beginning. Even when he lost, it was just an unfortunate loss. But that's a fight that Usman looks back and says it's a nightmare because he was winning fight on every round.
If anything, this Usman Edwards is Usman's Matt Serra, man. This is a fight that Usman should win like 9 times out of 10. And Leon, props to him. He got that win, man, but he was losing that fight, and I think Usman wins the rematch.
Yep, I'm going with Leon Edwards. I think Leon's going to get it done again on Usman. I think he knocks him out, and I think he does it earlier next time. I think once that happens to Usman, and I think time as well, everything just caught up to him in that 5th round.
No, man, it was just a bad move, dude. That's all it
Perfect
was.
shot.
You just got.
It was a
It was a
shot
perfect
from
shot.
Leon Edwards.
He got reeled in to get that headshot. He got reeled in, and that's all it was. It was a tactical mistake that will not be repeated. I guarantee
They're
you.
doing that next fight in London. It's going to be all Leon Edwards. That crowd's going to be nuts for him. Kamaru's going to be on foreign soil. It's going to be difficult for him. I'm telling you, I got Leon Edwards in the rematch, and then after that, he's doing good. Who knows if he even fights more than once this year. I got Edwards beating Usman in the rematch.
Dave.
Well, that's okay, AJ. I've been wrong before. You've been wrong before. 155, I don't even think we have to talk about it. Islam Makhachev, he is champion. He will be champion unless something terrible happens to him like an injury or whatever, but Islam is remaining champion. Nobody's beating this guy at 155 pounds. Nobody at all. I don't care who it is. Even Alex Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski's great. I think he'll remain 145-pound champion throughout the year, but I don't think he beats Islam. I don't think he'll have the size to be able to do it. He won't be able to stop the wrestling. Islam will take him down, beat him up, submit him, just like he does to everybody else.
He's going to do the Dagestanian thing, man. It'll be a good fight, mind you. But
yeah, because Volkanovski's no joke. I'm not saying Volkanovski can't win. I'm just saying I do not think he will win, and most people do not think he will win because Islam is just that guy right now. He's
and that's the thing. If Volkanovski cannot do what he needs to do and get the win, you know that Islam's going to be there for the long run. Islam is going to be one of those fighters that's going to be in that position for a long time. He'll be able to defend anyone. I'm telling you, this is we're going to see another Khabib right here in the making. We are seeing it actually.
145 men's division. I got Volkanovski remaining champion. He'll lose to Islam, go back down, defend the belt. I think he remains featherweight champion, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
How about 135? Right now, Aljamain Sterling is the champion. I think he's going to fight Henry Cejudo at some point this year, which is
that'll
pretty major.
Be a nice one. Yep.
It's a big fight. Does Cejudo beat him?
Yeah. If Cejudo comes back, I think Cejudo will be champion.
Cejudo's been out for a long time, man, and Sterling, he figures out ways to win. Even though often it's not impressive or, you feel like he lost a fight or gets his way a cheap win, but he figures out how to win. So Sterling's going to keep that title.
AJ, who do you think is champion at the end of the year? Fred's got Aljamain Sterling keeping the belt all this year, and I do too. I think Aljamain Sterling beats Cejudo. Cejudo's been off for a while. I think Sterling, he gets better and better every time he fights. I think this is going to be a big year for Aljamain Sterling. If he remains active and remains healthy, I think he'll fight a couple of times and look really impressive. And the next one against Cejudo is going to be a big one.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if he does fight Cejudo, I think Cejudo could beat him, and he'll be the champion. If that fight doesn't happen, Sterling will remain the champion. There's no one in that division that I can see hurting that guy. And you're right, man. This guy is impressive. Every time you see him fight, he just gets better and better and better. But he's fighting Cejudo. That's going to be tough. I think it's Cejudo's fight to take if it actually happens.
Well, we'll see. I think Sean O'Malley might fight for the belt this year.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
I'll tell you, if the right things come together, I could see Umar Nurmagomedov being a 135-pound champion by the end of the year, too. Umar Nurmagomedov, 15-0. He's currently ranked. He's currently ranked, where is he? 11th in the UFC's rankings. But if he gets a couple key fights, he could find himself with a title shot by the end of the year. He's got that Nurmagomedov name, I could see Umar climbing his way up. He's a dark horse to be champion at the end of the year, but Sean O'Malley, I think, probably has next, right? It'll be O'Malley versus the winner of Sterling and Cejudo, I think, because O'Malley beat Peter Yan, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for O'Malley, man, coming up against these guys. But, hey, anything is possible.
So who do you have as champion? Cejudo?
If they actually fight, yes.
Okay.
If not, I'm going to go with Sterling to take it for the end of the year.
The 125
I'll take
title
O'Malley
is on the
convenient.
line coming up. Figueiredo and Moreno are fighting again. I
Yeah.
think it's basically between those two guys. Who's going to be champion, Figueiredo or Moreno?
Moreno, man,
Figueiredo.
he impresses me, man, a lot.
But Moreno's changing teams, or he must, because he can't train with James Krause no more.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with those changes affecting it, and Figueiredo's going to win.
It's in Brazil, too. That's where Figueiredo's from. I got Figueiredo as champion at the end of the year, too. AJ? Figueiredo?
Yeah. No, Freddie's got a good point
Figgy.
there, and you brought up a good point. He's fighting in Brazil, so I agree with both of you guys. So if I had to, I'm probably going to give the edge to Figueiredo there.
All right, the 115-pound champion for the women right now is Zhang Weili. Does anybody
Zhang
take
Wei?
it from her this year?
I've been impressed with Zhang Weili this year, man. She has evolved. Styles make matchups. Maybe Rose could figure a way to beat her again, but no, I'm gonna go with Zhang Weili, who's evolved, I think, a lot as a fighter, and she looked very impressive in her fights against Carla, and I'm trying to remember who she fought before that, but
Joanna.
she was very impressive. Yeah, Joanna, exactly.
Yeah. She's smashing
and
through
there's
the
a lot of-
competition. She looks better and
Listen.
better every time.
There's a lot of rumors that Joanna is looking to come back. That could be interesting. At 35 years old, I mean, you never know. It's a possibility, but it's going to be tough, man. Weili is just, she's impressive.
Yeah. I think Weili's going to remain champion at 115 pounds in the women's division. Does anybody take it from Valentina at 125?
Yes, I have a big prediction on that. I'm glad you brought it up.
Okay.
Go for it.
I'm telling you, and I've been saying it from the beginning, and she's
Oh.
been impressive.
Say
And
it.
she's
Mackenzie
not
Dern?
top. Not Mackenzie Dern, and I love
Okay.
Mackenzie.
Say it.
Manon Fiorot.
I'm telling you, Manon Fiorot will be the champion by the end of 2023. She's going to smash through everyone, including Valentina. This is no joke. She is something. She's a force to reckon. Put your money on Manon. I've been saying it for the longest time. She's impressive. She will be champion.
I think she's going to have a
I'm
tough
going to
time.
stick with Valentina.
Yeah.
No,
I'm sticking with
she's-
Valentina.
I'm sorry, boys. I'm telling you, you're going to regret that because Manon is smashing through her. Smashing through her.
Okay. AJ thinks Manon Fiorot will be the 125-pound champion end of the year. 135 and 145. Amanda Nunes is the champ there. And she's not fighting anytime soon. Like, whatever happened to her?
I mean, there's nobody left, man, unless you do a trilogy with Juliana Pena, but
Yeah.
there's nobody interesting for her to fight.
It's odd. It's odd that it's been so quiet on the Amanda Nunes front, right? She fought Juliana, I feel like, so long ago, and we haven't heard anything else about her. When was that fight?
Yeah,
That
it's
fight
quiet,
was
man.
in
It's quiet.
July. She fought her in July, and we haven't heard anything about the 145-pound belt, the 135 belt. Is Amanda going to fight again? Who's her next opponent? Like, nothing. Strange. There's no rumored fights for Amanda Nunes in either division coming up. So, I guess because she's not defending any belt, she's probably going to be the champion at 135 and 145 at the end of the year, too. I don't think anybody's taking it from Amanda at this point. After the beating she put on Juliana Pena, I mean, maybe they do a rematch at 145 or something. I don't know. But there is not much to do right now for Amanda Nunes. I think they were probably hoping on Kayla Harrison winning that PFL fight and then leaving PFL and coming to the UFC to fight Amanda. But Kayla Harrison lost that fight.
Yeah,
So-
but there's big rumors now that Chris Cyborg and Harrison will end up fighting in the PFL. So let's see if that happens, man.
What does that have to do with Amanda Nunes?
Look, man, anything can happen. Wouldn't you like to see like Harrison come into the UFC or Cyborg back? I mean, anything's possible.
I'd like to see Cyborg and Nunes do a rematch. I think now's the time to bring Cyborg back to fight Amanda again. What else are you going to do with Amanda? You need something.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. But, I mean, the Harrison fight, Cyborg fight is probably in the books first.
All right, so those are the predictions that we have for 2023, and who will be champion. And we'll keep this in a document here in the files in the archives, and we'll keep checking on it throughout the year and see where we're at.
I just have one more thing to say on one guy that I was saying, he's probably going to be a big name in 2023 in the middleweight division is Bo Nickel. This guy, he impresses me. I don't think he'll be champion, obviously, by the end of 2023, but this guy's going to make big statements in 2023. He's somebody dangerous that's coming up. So that name, Bo Nickel, is my pick for maybe, fighter of the year.
If he can stay healthy, he got hurt and his first fight had to be canceled. So
yeah, if he can stay healthy.
Yeah,
but it happens, But he's a beast, Dave.
I'll tell you, I could see Shavkat Rakhmonov being the welterweight champion by the end of the year. If he finds himself in a welterweight title fight, like Shavkat could be the champion quite easily. Khamzat Chimaev, too, is dangerous at 185 or 170. Like, you never know what Khamzat's next move is going to be, and you figure Khamzat will probably fight for a belt by the end of the year in one of those divisions, right? If he can figure out which division he fights in.
Yeah, you're right.
If he can make weight for something,
Look, it'd be nice to see like Paulo Costa fight against any of these guys at some point, but things are
He's not that relevant.
Man. Yeah, but his name is there.
Paulo Costa's not relevant. I'm talking about future champions. Shavkat Rakhmonov, Khamzat Chimaev. You know what I mean? All right. I'll be back tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right after SmackDown with Johnny North to talk professional wrestling, Wrestling Uncensored tomorrow night. We've got a lot to talk about in the world of pro wrestling. Vince McMahon plotting a comeback to sell the WWE. He wants to take charge to sell it. I don't really understand the reasoning behind it, but we'll try and figure out what's going on with Vince, what's in Vince's head, which is always difficult. And then we'll talk AEW and WWE and everything going on the TV shows in the pro wrestling world. That's tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Ringside Report Network. Happy New Year to all of our friends, all of our viewers. Angelo Contagonis, shout out to you, member of the team. Join.ringsidereport.net. If you have not joined already, join.ringsidereport.net. Support the Ringside Report Network. Happy New Year to you, Angelo, and all our supporters over at join.ringsidereport.net. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, do all the things to support us right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.